Now, what are some of the strategies that would help you to be successful at the workplace? The starting points, remember we are talking about the workplace. You move from your home, you go to the workplace. The starting point, Abby, you can admit I'm seeing a few people. So you need to be able to understand your organization. The workplace where you are. If you are employed somewhere, you need to be able to understand your organization. Understand your organization in the sense that you do understand the environment that you work in terms of the mission. What does the organization exist for? Why does it exist? As you sit here today, you may not answer it on the chat, you may not write it, but do you know why the organization you work for exists? Ask yourself that question. There are some organizations, for example, if you are in, there are some organizations that exist to make an impact. There are those that exist to make revenue. There are those that exist to uplift lives. For example, if you're in a telecommunication environment, you could say that, or maybe you could be in an organization that in a telecommunication that exists to be able to connect those who are not connected using data, using voice, helping people be able to call from one end of the world to the other. So you need to be able to understand why that organization exists. And I'll tell you why as we move along. Do you know the goals of the organization? What does it aim to achieve? Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to June. In June, most organizations do a pulse check of where they are coming from, where they started in January to where they are today. As you sit here today, do you know the goals that the organization intended to achieve this year? Do you know them? Do you know what it aimed to achieve in terms of maybe the number of customers, in terms of the money they wanted to make? Do you know it? And do you know your contribution this far to those goals? Do you know the values? What is important to that organization? As we talk about values of the organization, yourself, do you know your values? What is important to you so that you can be able to align the same to the organization? There are those organizations that value things like integrity, professionalism, collaboration, all those things. Are you aligned? You can imagine in an organization that values collaboration, and you're one of those employees that is discussed in the boardroom as somebody who does not play teamwork. You can imagine the misalignment that somebody talked about when we were asking what makes these organizations complex. If we are talking about an organization that values integrity and honesty, you can imagine the things that somebody has dropped on the chat box, that unethical behavior, things like corruption, could make a workplace complex. So you can imagine if you find yourself on that side of the world, where you're caught up in issues of unethical behavior like corruption, in an organization that values integrity and professionalism. Integrity and honesty, sorry. No matter how many tick boxes you ticked in your job description, you know what that means. That means that you are actually curtailing your success within that organization. So you also need to know the belief system of that organization, which we talk about the culture. The other strategy you need to be able to take note of is managing up, managing down, and managing across. What do we mean by managing up? We all work in an organization where we have managers, we have executives, we have people that are slightly below us, and we have people that we are almost at the same level. Those are our peers. How do you work with those people? How do you ensure that you're managing up, managing your line manager, managing your executives, managing the leaders in the business? You know what? Many people actually believe that it is the responsibility of the manager to manage them, or it is your responsibility to manage your manager. Many people believe, that it is the manager's responsibility to manage you. But do you know it is the reverse? It is your responsibility to manage your manager or to manage up. How do you do that? You need to be able to understand your manager. What do they value? What do they stand for? What are their pain points? When you know all those things, then you know how to approach your manager. There are some managers that are, they are very busy. On a day-to-day basis, they are very busy. And you're actually that person who keeps knocking their door every now and then to go and actually ask a question. You're asking like 100 questions in a day. You're hired because of your expertise so that you can think of solutions. It is good to ask questions, but ask the questions to yourself first, have come up with a proposal, then go to that manager ready with a proposal. There are managers who don't like stories. They want you to be straight to the point. When you know that your manager doesn't like stories, they are straight to the point, then you organize your thought process when you're going to meet them, when you're having a discussion with them. There are managers that they are extremely attentive to details. They value attention to detail. When you have such a manager, then you need to be able to also be attentive when you're doing a document, when you're doing a proposal, when you're presenting something. Because if you're not, you're going to feel very frustrated because your manager will always say, no, go back and do this, simply because you are not attentive and you've not studied that person. Also, you need to know what are their pain points as they sit in that position, so that you can be solution oriented. Every manager wants to work with somebody who they know. I'll pick a phone and say, Purity, I've come from a meeting. This is what is required. We need to organize this. And you're not going to be saying, okay, so can we do next week? You're actually there and saying, by the end of the day today, I will have come up with something. You don't have to be a perfectionist. You just need to have the initiative and understand your manager. The people below you, never underestimate what we call the gatekeepers. You may actually see that somebody works below you, but those are some of the people that will actually give you intel within the organization. They are the people who may open doors for you in those executive offices. So you also need to know how to value them, how to deal with them, how do they operate. And then across, those are your peers. Actually, each and every one of us needs to have their peers on board. Or when I say on board, I mean on your side, because these are people that you can easily be vulnerable with, and you need to be able to actually reach out to them. A phone call, I'm struggling with this presentation. I've been asked to go for a meeting very quickly this afternoon. I'm not ready with the data, or I have the data and I don't know how to interpret this data. Your peer will actually be able to give you that kind of support. But most importantly, your peers also give you feedback. You need people who can give you feedback, and authentic feedback. And also you need to be open to that feedback so that you can improve. We improve because of the feedback that we are able to get from the people. So what we are saying is add value. Add value. Find places where you can add value to your line managers, the people that work below you, and even your peers, because you're also reaching out to them to add value to you. Then the next thing is lean on your professional asset. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the things that you can't delegate. You cannot delegate your professional asset, and your professional asset is your personal brand. Personal branding and personal brand is so broad, but for the sake of this session today, I choose for us to look at three things: communication, your dressing, and your relationship with peers. And we've already talked about relationship with peers. But now when it comes to dressing, how do you dress in your organization? You may be in an organization that has a dress code or a policy around dressing. Do you even know the policy? Have you ever looked at it? Do you know what it says? Do you contravene that policy? You may find yourself in an organization that doesn't have a stipulated policy on how to dress. But remember what we said? Understand your organization, number one. So you need to also be able to know the kind of organization that you're working in. You can imagine you're in an organization that is highly professional and they want that professional look. They are always in suits and ties and stuff like that. And then you show up one day yourself, you're always showing up in jeans, in, something that is not on that line. When a discussion happens in the boardroom and they're actually looking for somebody who they can maybe send to represent the organization in a meeting externally or even in a meeting internally or even to take up more responsibility, do you think your name will drop there? If that is the kind of organization that they are in, a highly professional looking organization, they will not. That is not to say those are the only organizations that we work in. You could be in a tech organization that is quite easy. If it is quite easy, also know what easy means so that there is no level of indecency. We say dress the way you want to be addressed. And we also go further and say, if you want to be a CEO, then you need to dress like a CEO. Because when you meet with him or her on the lift, they will spot that person who actually sort of looks like who they are. And that is how it is. Communication. How do you communicate? It speaks to your brand. And when we talk about communication, we are talking about verbal and non-verbal. We are talking about email communication. On email communication, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to mention that sometimes your emotional intelligence steps in. Sometimes somebody may send you an email that is not too kind. The question is, do you have to respond it the same way? Maybe no. Do you have to respond it immediately, when you're also worked up? Maybe no. Then also when we talk about email communication, there are some of us who just write in brief, okay. You want to write okay, then you write okay. It speaks to your professional brand. There is somebody who may not understand what okay really means. Learn to, enhance your communication, both, especially on email, because on email, somebody may not call you to explain what you wrote or to explain the tone that you have actually put on that email, but they will have a perception about you. When it comes to nonverbal communication, I want to look at this for something that I've actually seen a lot in a meeting. Maybe you don't like Purity in the meeting. She's a colleague that you don't like and she's presenting today in that meeting. And then you keep making faces and people can see. It speaks to your brand and that really looks very unprofessional. At the workplace, we don't have to be friends. Friends where we are going for coffee together, for tea together, for lunch together, but we have to be professional friends. So even if I don't like you, I will still be able to communicate to you, reach out to you and be able to say, can we work on this? Do you have this data? So it's really important to look at your communication and also verbal communication. What comes out of your mouth? Let whatever comes out of your mouth be very professional. Moving on. My screen seems not to be moving. I need to escape and try again. Okay, I don't know what's up. Just give me a second. All right. Abby, am I still audible now that there was that hang up?
Yeah, you are.
I am. Okay, sorry about that. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, strategies: build an authentic network, either internally or externally. We all require that, a network of people that speak about us and speak positively about us and also mention our names whenever there is an opportunity. This authentic network are people who can give you feedback. We've talked about it. People that can challenge you, people that can hold your hand, people that can mentor you, and people that can even coach you, people that can correct you, and tell you, today, I liked your presentation, but maybe you could have spoken like this. I didn't like the way you answered Purity because of this and this. Maybe you could have kept quiet, or you could have said it this way. You really require that. We say our net worth is defined by the kind of networks that we have. So I don't want to belabor on that. Make sure that you have a network internally and externally. Now let me talk about internal, because we are talking about the workplace. Can you imagine that in a meeting, when people are looking for people to do a project, and I'll tell you why I'm talking about projects and projects and projects, because they propel you and they elevate you beyond your job description. When people are looking for somebody who they can actually put in their projects, cross-departmental projects, for example, departmental becomes easy, but cross-departmental is a bit challenging because some people may not even know you exist much as you work in the organization. Imagine if you have no authentic network internally, your name will never feature in some of those projects. So because you're always alone, and the people that you hang around with, or the people that you always have around yourself, is maybe your desk mate and the desk mate on the right and the left. Beyond that, there is no other network. Nobody else knows you. Ensure that you build networks. But building networks here doesn't mean stepping on people's toes. Some of the things that were dropped on the chat when we were talking about what makes organizations complex. It is authentic networks, people that are genuine. But for you to build authentic networks, don't you think that you also need to be authentic? Of course, we also need to be authentic to be able to do that. Collaboration, I've talked about teamwork. Be a collaborator. Be that person that once you're put somewhere, whether it is in your department, whether it is in a cross-department activity or a team building activity, be the person that collaborates. You're easy to work with. You go in prepared. You go in with ideas. Have you seen people within your teams? Have you seen people that you're working on something? They will not contribute anything. They will actually just appear there to build up the numbers. I'm sure you have seen those people. And once that activity is being discussed, your name never features on anything that you contributed. You will hear so-and-so said this, oh no, this was so-and-so's idea, oh, this one was doing this, oh, this one actually volunteered to do the analysis for us, this one volunteered to present for us, this volunteered to bring some innovative ideas that helped us, move the needle around this project or this activity that we were doing, and then you're that person that your name never featured anywhere. You can imagine what that happens. You feel frustrated because you wonder, why is it that I see people moving forward and I'm not moving forward? It also goes back to what we said. What does success mean to you? Then you need to be able to set your own clear goals. Remember, we talked about the organization goals. What are your own goals? Why are you in that organization? Actually, why are you working? What are your goals? And we say your goals need to be SMART. Ensure that you set goals that you can achieve within the organization. And then go ahead and have an action plan for them. Did you have goals for this year? We are going to June. How far are you with your goals? Have you ever turned back and opened your notebook where you journaled those goals? Where is your action plan? What support did you require to be able to achieve your goals? Who have you reached out to help you to achieve those goals? What investment did you require for you to be able to achieve your goals? What plans did you make around to ensure that your investment is achievable? Do not set goals that will frustrate you. When you set so many goals and you can't achieve them, you feel like a failure. But indeed, you're not. You just need to bite what you can actually be able to chew. You better have 2 goals and achieve them, or work on them and achieve them. Align your personal goals to the organizational goals. That's the only way you will actually be able to succeed. Be resilient and persistent. These organizations that we work in, or the workplaces, as we've said, are complex in whatever dynamics that they come. But use those complexities as opportunities for growth. If you're working with team members that you feel you're struggling a bit, go further and ask yourself, what can I learn from these team members? What can I learn from my line manager? Because maybe I'm feeling a bit frustrated. I'm a bit, I feel a bit misaligned. What can I learn? Maybe you are actually misaligned because you've not understood what their goals are or what actually drives them. Seek to understand. If somebody is so detailed and you're feeling that, I'm a bit frustrated, they always want me to return this, do this, ask yourself, what can I learn? Maybe you're actually going to learn how to be an effective time manager. You're going to learn how to be effective in your work on presentation skills, because maybe every time you're told you need to correct this, your presentation didn't do this, your presentation was not like this, you need to ask yourself, how can I actually use this and leverage your needs as an opportunity for me for growth? So always ask, what can I learn in this situation? Have a growth mindset. And growth mindset here, I'm happy for the people that are here, because these are the people that actually are demonstrating some of the things we are talking about, like a growth mindset. Growth mindset means having the desire to know more, being curious. Do you know that the modern organizations want people that have skills, people that are curious, people that are self-driven? Some of us, the only skill that we acquired is maybe 10 years ago. Or 15 years ago. And the world has really changed. Organizations have evolved. The modern day of work has changed. And we still stick to one skill that we earned 10 years ago that is almost becoming obsolete. How much are you reskilling and upskilling? And we have so many tools that we can use to do this. Some are actually free. Instead of always being online, or watching a movie, maybe you can set 10 minutes. Watching a movie is good, but maybe you can also set 10 minutes and do something that will elevate you professionally and internally within your organization. You can imagine an organization that has changed and has input maybe regulations in place. Regulations have changed, and you need to actually be part of that team that is driving that conversation and that agenda. And the last time you understood the regulations around your work is maybe 10 years ago, and the regulations have been updated and you have no idea. Embrace a growth mindset. And the other thing is around this area that makes employees sometimes struggle with feeling like they are succeeding or lack of success is where you join an organization with the skills that you have or the expertise, because you are hired because you are the right person. Let's start there. And then 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, new people join the organization. They are self-driven. They have a growth mindset. They embrace learning. They come in. They make use of their free time. They learn. They actually came at a level lower than you. You are actually showing them things here and there, but they have upskilled and reskilled. After 5 years, that person shoots up professionally within the organization, and then you start complaining. Oh, it is they are not seeing me. They don't see any value that I bring. Comparing this person who came the other day. They came the other day, but they've invested in themselves. They've aligned their skill set to the modern day work environment, and therefore they have actually overtaken you. So embrace your growth mindset. As you do this, try and read research out here and be able to understand where organizations are going and how they are moving forward. Embrace lifelong learning. You can learn through mentors, you can learn through friends, you can learn through the YouTube, you can learn through even Twitter, the former Twitter X. You can learn from all these tools. There are so many if you really want to learn. I want to read this quote by the former IBM CEO, Mr. Jimmy Rometty, that said, the only way you survive is you continually transform into something else. Don't be stagnant. Transform your skill set into something else. And that coming from somebody who worked in a tech company, tells you that, especially you also need to understand the organization you're working in, the role you're in. Some roles move very fast. You're in the tech, you're in IT, you're not upgrading yourself. You need to be able to take advantage of some of these free certifications that are there. And even if they are not free, have a goal plan for yourself. Know that I need to have this certification by this particular time, and then invest in it. Plan your finances accordingly.